So today I want to give you guys 5 easy tips for writing a book. Throughout my entire career as an author, I have had dozens, hundreds, I don't know, I've lost count of people asking me, how do you write a book? And I've written over 50 of them. I have 44 published, and I have a lot stored up because I've been writing since I was 11. So um, my advice as an 11-year-old would be very different from my advice now as a seasoned published author. But yes, when I was 11 years old, I started writing. It was more as a coping mechanism to escape life. It was a calling for me. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. As early as second grade, I wrote little books, but I wrote my first novel at 11. And that is now published as Rise of the Flame. But interesting fact that a lot of people don't really know, and I shared it at DragonCon recently because I was on 7 panels. I had an absolute blast, and I shared during one of the panels, it was the madness of the king. Depictions of mental health and high fantasy. And I shared my story of going to a therapist in the 5th grade. And one of his homeworks for me was to journal. So I started journaling around that time. And it was very helpful for me to purge a lot of emotions. But I also started to journal my dreams. So I've been writing my dreams down since I was a kid. I still do it to this day. And I get a lot of story ideas from journaling. So I will say that that is a really good step to writing a book. Just start writing down your thoughts, your feelings. Maybe don't even do it with any attachment to the outcome or what comes out. This allows you to tap into a part of yourself that accesses inspiration that you may not have readily connected with. So you could sit down and just start journaling, automatic writing. I wrote about this in my portion of. I'll share in the comments below. It's the Upwork, not Upwork. I can't think of the app right now. But anyway, journal. Like I used to call these jot lists as well, like jot lists, just all the ideas you have, all the themes you want to cover, all the emotions you want to convey. Worry about organizing it later. If you're new to writing, it's a little bit, it's more training yourself to get into the mindset of a writer and to really figure out what you want to write about. So jot lists, brainstorming, journaling, all excellent steps, excellent ways to tap into that creative energy that's already within you, ready to come out. Because if you feel like you want to write a book, there's a book in you that the world needs to hear. And don't be like that person who has this book idea for 50 years and then a book comes out with that same concept, that same premise, and you're like, I thought of that. Yeah, you did. The universe sprinkled that inspiration into you and watched and waited for you to do something with it. And when you did it, I'm like, well, let's sprinkle it on somebody else. So that's kind of how I think about it. Like, that's why we see some of these things that you may have had this idea. Lots of different directors and writers have these ideas, and it's because the story needs to be told. So tell your story. There's an audience for you no matter what you're writing about. I guarantee it. Okay? All right. So yeah, just getting your ideas on paper is an important step. Another step that you can take to writing a book. It's really good to cultivate some kind of routine or schedule. I just recently shared this post about, if you write 10,000 words a day, you'll have a book. If you write 1,000 words a day, you'll eventually have a book. If you write 500 words a day, you'll have a book. If you write 100 words every other night, you'll eventually have a book. Okay. I have a breakdown of my 5K a day plan that I work with to write 5K words a day. And let me tell you, I used to be a lot more productive before having children. You can imagine why I'm a lot less productive, but I still make sure I get words. I do not beat myself up if I don't get 5,000 words because life happens and it's important to be easy on yourself, to make sure you're taking care of yourself, your mental health, your self-care. Even though I have a an idea of how many words I want to get a day, I don't let it rule me and I don't let it turn me into taking my craft from something I love into something that I dread. You don't want to get there. You want to connect with the love of writing and hold on to that energy as long as possible. This should be fun. This should be a joy to do, okay? And sometimes it will get hard and that's okay. The hard parts are worth it. You'll get through it. All right. So yeah, you can have a word count limit or a time limit and try to stick to it. But like I said, be gentle with yourself. I used to be able to write from sun up to sundown with no problem, but that was when I was childless and, just like kind of carefree about life. But now, if I want to get words in, I might not be able to do it during the day. I might have to wait until the kids are in bed and get at least 2 hours, 4 hours, 20 minutes of writing done. I feel good that I got something on the paper and that I'm still in flow. You know that mindset, that concept, energy goes where attention flows, like watering those seeds. Water those seeds. Don't let them get dry and parched. Don't let your manuscript sit for too long without working on it. Actually, I take that back. There's nuance to that statement. Having written for so long and having been mentored by other authors and read lots of writing books. Stephen King's On Writing is a great one to get into. Plot and Structure. James Scott Bell, Plotting and Structure. Look it up. I think it's James Scott Bell. But like I said, don't let it collect too much dust. That's true. If you're writing something, don't let it fall into decay. That's different from letting it have time to breathe. Okay, so the statement is still true. There's a difference between writing a manuscript and setting it aside and going and doing something else, refreshing your brain and coming back to it with fresh eyes, than stuffing it in the back of your closet in a shoebox and forgetting about it for 12 years. Like it's possible. You can absolutely do that and come back to it and have a vastly different view of life. That's okay. That's kind of what happened with my manuscript of writing it at 11 and then coming back to it as an adult and rewriting the whole thing. All right. So yes, those 2 steps, keep those in mind. Get the words on the paper with no attachment to outcome. Don't worry about the structure yet. That's, you can read about structure. You could, like I said, plot and structure. You can read about formatting. But once you get the story out, that's when you can adjust these things. So yeah. And also number 2, setting aside time, getting into some kind of schedule. 3, I am very ritualistic in my writing, and this might not be a big tip for other authors, but it is for me because I like to tap into the senses when I'm writing. So one of my writing rituals is to light a candle, light some incense. I play music. Some people cannot write with music. They need silence, and that's okay. Do what works for you. And you know what? Discovering what works for you is part of the journey. It's part of the fun. It's part of the adventure. So you could play around with different things and see what rituals help you tap into your creative spark. It could be buying fresh flowers and having them on your desk. Some people like to connect with crystals like me. I write with crystals on my desk, whether I'm at home or if I'm at the coffee shop or wherever. I've always got some crystals with me, but yeah. I like to connect with scent. I like to connect with music. I write to a lot of Celtic and Nordic music. I also like to write to some heavy metal and some rock, if I'm working on something more contemporary, or if I just need like a really cool fight scene or battle scene, some war, then yeah, I'm gonna turn on some Slipknot. I'm gonna turn on some Alice in Chains or some Denheim, and I'm gonna get into it. But then I might be writing something else and I need some Halsey or some Lord or something of that nature to connect to. So play around with it and see what works for you. Another step to writing a book is learning your voice, discovering what your voice is. There are different points of views to work with. Read different points of view and see what connects with you. And then when you're going to your writing, see if it feels best to write from the first person. When I woke up that morning, that fateful morning that my mother was kidnapped. Like, does that point of view connect with you, or does it connect with you to do third person? The morning Celeste awakened, she discovered that the door was ajar and that her mother was nowhere to be found. Like, what point of view works for you? Do you want to do alternating points of view between different characters? Do you want to have a narrator? See what works for you. This is part of learning your voice and your journey. And like I said, it's part of the fun. Yeah. So do those things, have fun with it, discover what connects with you. And like I said, when you're writing your first book, you're probably going to be in your head about it a lot. You're probably going to overwork it to death. You're probably going to be very scared. You're going to worry about what will people think when they read it. Like, we get it. We've been there. It is a rite of passage. It took me a few series to still not have imposter syndrome. And I felt imposter syndrome recently at the Dragon Con, just being on panels with like these highly esteemed authors. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm highly esteemed. I earned my place here. I deserve to be here. And I mean, that might be another thing for you guys to do, is like affirm to yourself that this story needs to be told. You've got what it takes. Like, believe in yourself. I will tell you, I've been writing for so long, and the amount of people that I told that I was writing a book throughout the years who kind of eyes glazed over and like, okay. All right. What else? Like, could care less or didn't support me or believe in me. Like, it just fueled my fire, and it didn't discourage me in any way. It's like, I know what I have. This story that I have to tell is amazing, and that people are going to connect with it. I knew that inside of me, even though I was still scared and it took me years to get the confidence to share it. I still knew it was a story worth telling. And the fact that it brought me joy and helped me connect with all these feelings and travel to all these different realms, I knew there was something there. So believe in yourself. Be your best supporter. Be your own cheerleader. The fans will come later, okay? All right. So another step for writing a book is I talked about worrying about plot and structure later. But yeah, you do want to read lots of stories. You want to read lots of stories, lots of genres from different authors, both traditionally published and independent publishing. Read lots of things, get some experience under your belt, do some research about the things you want to write about. You don't have to overdo it. You don't have to, this is not you doing, a thesis. This is just you giving yourself some fuel to connect with when you're writing the story. If you're doing historical fiction, then yeah, you want to do a little bit more research than others. But if you're doing like sci-fi, read sci-fi, but also read mystery. That's going to it's going to enrich your storytelling so much more than if you just read sci-fi. Okay. If you can bring in other elements, then that's going to like ground the reader and connect in a different way, and you'll appreciate it in the long run. All right, so I hope these tips are helpful for you. I don't know why I said 5. I just put a number there. So ignore the 5 easy steps and just take the guidance that I'm giving to you. Sit down. Make sure you get you a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, get your favorite snack. Find out what ritual makes you feel good. Get the words out. when I'm working with clients who I mentor for writing and publishing, I'm like, they're never been published, never written anything. Find out what story you want to tell first and foremost. Like I said, write down what themes you want to connect with. And then just get the story out. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be beginning, middle, end. I actually write backwards. I write the ending and then I go back. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. So I don't know if you want to do what I do, because it can become um it's actually never been hard for me. It's actually quite fun. So you could try it. But I wouldn't say it's the most I wouldn't say that a lot of authors would tell you to do that. But like I said, find out what works for you. All right. And um, worry about the structure, worry about the editing later. Get you a good editor, good beta readers, people you trust. It doesn't have to be your family. It could be connecting with people in the hundreds, if not thousands, of online groups that are writing groups, local writing groups. My first was I took a writing class at my local community college just to get some feedback. And I was so happy with the feedback I received that it finally gave me that push and that courage to, keep going with it. I started sharing the Chronicles of Koa on my blog, like a serial. Like I would put a chapter out every week, and like my friends were reading it and they were like, this is really good. And I was so happy. Like, it is good to get that validation, that external validation at times. So, but don't rely on it. This is more so talking about getting some eyes on your story that can catch the mistakes or the typos or the plot holes or the things you didn't think about, the loose ends. Like, you said Sarah had green hair in chapter 3, but now they have blonde hair. That those inconsistencies, like, have someone read your story for that aspect of things. But then, yes, get a good editor. And you know what? We'll talk about publishing and querying in another video, but this is just the bare bones of getting your story out without worrying about any of the other elements. The most important one is telling the story. Okay? Like, publishing and all that, you can't do that until you have a story. So get the story out, have fun with it, learn more about yourself, go have some experiences, go see different places, go travel, get some of the different cultures, like pick up on some of that, use it. Okay. And don't be afraid to keep learning. Like, even me now at 44 books published, I'm still learning. I'm taking anthropology and archaeology courses right now, just because I want to have another point of view for my writing. Like, and I just think it's really fun. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you're working on. Ask any questions. I'm happy to answer them. You can also find me on official Kay and Lee on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, now X, or my website, authorkayandlee.com. And I hope you guys have a great day. I wish you the best on your writing journey. If you want mentoring, you can find that on my website as well. Happy to bring you on. I have some spots open, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.